Hello there and welcome back to the channel. In this video, let's talk about the new premium pass that just dropped in Nier Reincarnation. We've been gunning for this for a while and we finally have it. Is it time to be stoked? Well, why don't we look at the community reaction? It has been out for a week and the dust has settled. And after we do that, I'll offer my own opinion and perhaps some suggestions. First of all, what is the premium pass? Well, for $17 USD, you can get a bunch of rewards after completing missions, ultimately getting this generic Awakening Stone, which really is a token to trade for a stone and only one per character. So that's a little bit of a drawback, but a pretty good value. Again, I'm going to hold off giving my opinion until the end. Let's dive into the community reaction. So, community friend Ziggy1X is very passionate about this. Made a video on this and engaged in a lot of discussion. Has been talking about this too. And Ziggy feels like the developers can do better. So most of the rewards are not that great. And, you know, you think you could maybe get a little more out of it. And that seems to be what we're seeing from most people commenting. They're just not happy enough to spend the $17. But another community friend here, Dystopia Bard, reminds us that other games have passes that cost anywhere from 25 to 40 bucks. So at least we can be grateful it's not that much. Again, you know, people hoping for the $10 mark. And this, I really wanted to comment on this. Lissy comes in here. Lissy is one of the top players and tells us that they just spent a fourth pity to get a fourth awakening on Nier. And could have used a $17 stone instead. And while that's disappointing in this particular instance, I think Lissy's trying to say that that $17 stone has insane value. Because either, you know, throwing another $80 in to gamble for that next awakening, or just throwing $480 for an entire extra pity, that's pretty steep. It brings up the question of, you know, is the game losing revenue from these whales that are going to spend that money regardless? Possibly. And we can see that come up in some other comments, but I think in the long run, this is just going to make big spenders happy, and a happy whale is more likely to play the game for longer and spend more money in the long run, in my opinion. So some other points, Millhouse here, really disappointed that it's only once per character, so we'll see what the developers do with that. Maybe they revise it and refresh it every month. Okay, Cabbage also did a video on this and is also disappointed with the content pass. Talks about how these battle passes are more about player engagement than revenue. So I'm not so sure. It's at least a boost in revenue, but maybe not enough. Maybe doesn't compare to that crazy whale spending. But in any case, the player engagement. Now, I was able to completely clear it out in 6 days. Is that enough? Should it have taken me 15 days? Was I engaged enough? Now, I play the game like crazy anyway, but someone who doesn't, is it going to get them playing enough that maybe it hooks them into being more into the game and, again, more of like a long-term player that maybe wants to spend. But it seems that people are disappointed in this $17 pass and what it offers. So, you know, what can we do about that? Now, Cabbage's comment section is a lot more positive. And, you know, like, for example, here, Dan Vocals is happy to have it and happy that they can just go by the month to get what they want and then peace out. You know, just another perspective. I think anyone who has a perspective on this, we need to be listening. The developers need to listen. And if we head over to Reddit, we're going to see more disappointment than anything. And again, I think that we should be listening, whether we agree with their points or not. these are the potential spenders. This is the player base, and my job to listen and report on it, and it's the developer's job to listen. In their defense, throughout the life of this game, I've been very impressed with the developers. It seems like they do take our comments into consideration and offer quality of life updates pretty frequently. And they respond to the surveys. You know, now we have this battle pass. It's been talked about recently. Now we have it. So, you know, if you have an opinion on this, you know, get in these communities, wherever it is you like to be, YouTube, Reddit, Discord, and voice your opinion. Hopefully we have another survey soon. In any case, here's a post from Makisani, who's just not stoked. And a point about currency. Sometimes the $17 doesn't translate to other currencies. Now, the developers don't have any control of that, of course, but something to consider if there were a cheaper price point and it scaled up. I saw a commenter from Poland saying that even with the exchange rate, it translates to 25 USD, something like that. Okay, so we have a lot of comments here. People that are disappointed with this. Yep. People even saying, you know, they don't want to play anymore. Which is a little over the top. If you're like that eager to leave the game, then maybe you weren't going to be a long-term player anyway. So, yeah, positive comments kind of getting downvoted here too. All right, another post from Ice Dog, who is also not stoked. Tons of support from the community, 73 upvotes. And basically all these same points, you know, not really into the content. Is it worth $17, etc.? And then those 4-star tickets we get, you know, here's a good point. Like, could just be a launch weapon or launch character that's kind of outdated. And is that really worth it? Is that going to tip a free-to-play player into spending this? Well, those 4-star tickets I don't think are going to do it. And then you can see here, lots of disappointed people. And we have another thread here on Ziggy's video post. Gem wrapped in a turd. And then Ziggy says, ironically with no gems. And I'll circle back around to that in a moment. A point of view I wanted to comment on here from Ice Ninja. And they say, who is excited about this pass? Spenders. Why? Because they don't have to spend as much. So going back to that point about not having to spend a whole penny to get that awakening. And who's most vocal against this? Free-to-play that we're considering purchasing. So once again, what can we do better? What can the developers do better to actually get a non-spender to spend for the first time? All right, and then, so that brings it back to me. How do I feel about the pass? Well, I bought it, as you can see, and I think it's a great deal, and I'll continue to buy it. But keep in mind that I'm already a spender, and 17 is no big deal for me, especially when it comes to awakening a character, and I don't have to do that gamble or drop that $500, which you know, I don't spend that much. If I've already spent just to be able to pull in the banner, I can't just keep going hard like that. So, what can we do to make this more enticing to the player base and not see so much disappointment? Well, this is my own opinion, so take it with a grain of salt. But I think there should be 2 different premium passes, one in the $10 range. And the $10 pass will have some sort of a 4-star ticket that guarantees weapon with character. And perhaps even blocks off the early, you know, like the launch characters that aren't that desirable anymore. And where that line is drawn would be up to the developers to decide what's fair. But I think a summon that guarantees a character could be something that a free-to-play or casual player would feel okay spending $10 for. And of course, I think there should be gems in there too. In this case, $10, 3,000 gems, or the equivalent in tickets. I think that would be fair. As for all these mats, they're great for a brand new player, but not really the rest of us. So why don't we throw some more purple mats in there? Maybe some black pearls, or maybe even some refined mats. I think Exalt mats would be going a little too far. Okay, then we would have another tier, a $20 tier, where you'd get that with twice the amount of gems, 6,000, or the equivalent in tickets. And then you would get this stone that we have here. So you'd have to buy the upper one to get this Awakening Stone trade, however they handle it. And then you get those gems too. Maybe the upper one has an Exalt mat. Maybe. In any case, I think those two tiers would be a lot more effective. You could get the non-spenders to maybe start spending on the lower one. And then those of us that are spenders will have no problem shelling out the 20 or so to get that Awakening Stone trade. And do we need more engagement here? The fact that I cleared this in 6 days, is that too fast? Now, don't get me wrong. I have no problem with just clearing it out right away. Very eager. But maybe missions that are a little more interesting, that get you thinking a little more, that make you get into your loadout and build something specific. If you have ideas, I'd love to hear it. But the main thing I want to hear from you in the comments is if you're free to play or a non-spender or casual or whatever, and would my solution get you to spend for the first time? And if not, what would get you to spend? Something fair, keep in mind, it can't be something ridiculous for $10. Something that would be fair on the developer end and on your end to get you to spend that first $10 and maybe even spend it every month. Because if enough of the player base was spending that, I do think that it would add up to a decent amount of revenue. All right, I believe those are all my thoughts for this video. We will see. The developers have listened in the past. Maybe they'll listen now. So voice your opinion wherever you feel like it might get heard. And that's all I have for now. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you see here, throw a like on it. And again, please let me know in the comments what would get you to spend for the first time. Thanks again. I'll see you in the next one.